The math doesn't lie, guys. The math doesn't lie, guys. The math doesn't lie, guys. This is what sophisticated investors do to build wealth. And this is why you hear me say 10, 15, 20% doesn't impress me when it comes to annual return. So the first thing that you do, you get a HEC V whole life policy. This is growing at 10.4%. This is what my policy does. This is a real number. I make 10.4% on my money in my whole life policy. Now, I have a line of credit against this cash value at 5%, what's called an index universal life policy or a variable universal life policies. These have hidden insurance costs. They typically only grow at 5 to 6% in annual returns, and you cannot borrow against them. So what I use is the same type of policy the big banks buy. And there's only a few dozen advisors in the entire United States that are even allowed to sell these. So that's why you got to have the right connections and know this stuff. I'm invested in something that is insured, grows at 10%, and I can borrow against. This is growing at 10%. But my line of credit is only 4, 5, 6% interest only. So every year, I'm increasing my leverage. But your advisor won't mention this because he gets paid to keep you. So let me show you what I am actually doing, okay? $200,000 whole life policy, $180,000 line of credit. Keep in mind that line of credit's at 4% interest. Whole life's compounding at 10% annually. There is a link in the description. It's no cost to you. It's a 7-day free trial. If you like it, stay. If you don't, at least you learned something and you got it for free. The math doesn't lie, guys. The math doesn't lie, guys. The math doesn't lie, guys. How to become your own bank. Some people call it infinite banking, but I have to warn you, this is going to piss off every financial advisor that watches this because I am going to walk over everything that you guys do, and I'm going to prove that what you guys do doesn't work and is inferior and how much you do not know about finance and money.
So I have no doubt that this does piss off every financial advisor who watches this, but not for the reason he wants you to think that it makes them mad. Now, the question is Ben Oberg a scam artist? This is Ben Oberg. Now, I can't tell you if he's a scam artist or not. And Google is not much help because I do know this. He is a very good marketer. If I hop into Bing and I say, let's see if anybody's been scammed by Ben Oberg, what pops up? His website, his book, an interview that he did fairly recently where the first 5 minutes is basically the host talking about how much of a genius he is and putting up his own bona fides that he has this massive IQ as well. And so I imagine the whole rest of the conversation is how smart these guys are. Then we have a LinkedIn post by Ben, another video by Ben, his website, Instagram with him. So like he has the whole first page. Oh, I'm on page 7. Let's go back to the first page here. Crypto Mafia, which this was a multi-level marketing scheme that he did at the in 2017-18. Seemed like a pyramid scheme to me. There was one lawsuit filed. I don't have the details on that, but then it's all him. His website, his book, his YouTube videos. So he has a very good marketing plan here where he is all over the place. If you type his name in, he does a lot of things that say scam. So if you type in his name of scam, it's going to pop up with him and his information and what he wants you to see. So, I mean, he's a good marketer. The reason I had to make this video, I don't normally make videos like this, but I had to make this video because of some of the stuff that you saw at the beginning here. Some of the things that he says when it gets into my space, which is high cash value life insurance. You guys know I'm an expert on high cash value life insurance, on the products that are available out there, how we design these products to be optimized, the performance of these things. That's my area of expertise. And this guy has no clue what he's talking about. Now, if you want to see an in-depth video refuting or diving into like each claim that he's going to make in his most popular video on infinite banking, which unfortunately has 117,000 views, Caleb Williams with Better Wealth, he did a good job. He has a 28-minute video that he basically goes through step by step.
Straight up, Ben, whoever's teaching you this stuff, and I don't know how long you've been doing this or how long you've been teaching this, but that is so not right. I don't even know where to begin. Before you jump in the comments and like, you might be thinking about a different insurance policy. I saw that you're a fan of Mass Mutual, Guardian, Northwestern Mutual, New York Life, like all phenomenally great companies. None of them would endorse what you're saying. And in fact, if they saw that you had a video like this, they wouldn't want you representing their company.
Now, in my opinion, he was a little too nice, but that's Caleb. Caleb's a great guy. I hope he does get to sit down with Mr. Ben Oberg here so that he can get some more information. But feel free to go watch Caleb's video and look at the individual things that he points out that are basically just completely false about some of the claims that Ben here is making. Now, when I saw that video, and it did make me mad, it did really bother me because the things that he says seem borderline criminal. Does that make him a scam artist? Unfortunately, probably not legally for most of the cases here. He's definitely a good marketer, and he is definitely engaging in puffery, in my opinion. Now, puffery is often invoked as a defense argument, and in the circular manner, legal explanations for this normative position describe the non-enforceable speech as a statement that no reasonable person would take seriously. I guess that works as a defense. If you look at his videos, I guarantee you a lot of people are going to be taking him seriously with the claims that he's making. But he is basically puffing up everything that he's talking about. Now, there may be some areas that he's going to get himself into legal trouble because he definitively states that he's making 10.4% on his whole life policy that he bought. He's not making 10.4% on it. I guarantee you. He doesn't understand how these work, but he thinks we don't understand how these work. He's taking the guaranteed rate that he gets of 4%, and he's adding the dividend on top of it, which is 6.4%. 4 plus 6.4 gives you 10.4. That is not how whole life dividends work. You either get the guaranteed amount or the dividend amount, which includes the guaranteed amount. So he's not getting 6.4 plus 4. He's getting the 4 plus the additional 2.4 of non-guaranteed dividend amount. His particular policy is a high early cash value policy from Mass Mutual, which he claims is like the best thing in the world and hardly anybody can sell it, which is flat out not true. Any agent who's contracted with Mass Mutual across the country has access to sell the high early cash value policy. That's the whole point of that policy. Now, that policy can be designed a number of different ways as well to get more high early cash value or less, depending on the agent. But in no situation is it going to earn 10.4%. And there's thousands of agents that have the ability to sell that product. So when he says only a dozen agents or a couple dozen agents have the ability to do this, and basically you have to kind of go through him and his network, if you want to make sure that you get access to this, puffery. I mean, a lot of us might think he's flat out lying, but legally, I think he's just engaging in puffery. As we can see here, the Federal Trade Commission defines puffery as the term frequently used to denote exaggerations reasonably to be expected of a seller as to the degree of quality of his product, the truth or falsity of which cannot be precisely determined. The Commission generally will not pursue cases involving exaggerated or puffing representations, i.e., those that the ordinary consumers do not take seriously. And then if we come down here, you can see this also is in reference to like puff piece. Puff pieces in journalism, which is basically exactly what his videos look like. That's exactly what they look like to me. They're a puff piece, which is an article or story of exaggerating praise that often ignores or downplays opposing viewpoints or evidence to the contrary. They call those puff pieces. Due to the actual or perceived bias of the reviewer, a review of a product, film, or event that is written by a sympathetic reviewer or by an individual who has a connection to the product or event in question, either in terms of an employment relationship or other links. In some cases, puff pieces purport to provide a review of the product or event, but instead merely provide peacock words, weasel words, or tabloid-style filler, which is peripheral or irrelevant to assessing the quality of the products or events. In other cases, a writer may succumb to the pressure and pen a biased puff piece which praises the product or event while omitting any discussion of shortcomings. That's one thing that you will not find when he's talking about what he would like to get you involved in, oil and real estate. You don't hear any of the shortcomings. Well, you might, but those are associated with what other people do, not what he does. And basically, he's trying to sell you access to his network. He's got a network. He gives you 7 free days, and then you're going to get charged. Now, you can't get access to those 7 free days without giving up a credit card number. 7 days is not a whole long time. And I guarantee you, if you go over those 7 days without canceling, you aren't getting your initial money back. It's $97 a month that he wants to charge you, and consider yourself out $97. Most of the time, I think people aren't going to have a chance to dig into it enough within 7 days to cancel it in time. And that's what is generally the goal of things like this, in my opinion. That's what it seems like. So you put out a bunch of neat videos that draw people in, get them excited. You're puffing up potential returns. He's not licensed to do life insurance. He's most likely not licensed to do real estate either. So he's not going to be getting in trouble from a licensure standpoint. There's no regulatory agency that's going to go after him. So it's going to be up to the people that buy into his network to go sue him over it. Well, if they only spent $97, it ain't going to happen. If they end up investing with some of the people in there and find out, oh, this is not what it was purported to be by Mr. Oberg over here, are they going to be able to sue that person? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know any of this stuff. But I wanted to be aware of this because what I'm hoping is that if somebody else types in to Google or Bing and tries to find out if other people have been scammed by this guy, that maybe they'll find this video and just see a different point of view that they're not going to get from his website or his book. Speaking of which, his book, you get a free chapter if you sign up for his network. And I don't know how, I guess technically it's a book because it's probably in an actual binding, like maybe there's a real book there. But the reality is it's a marketing piece for his network. So I signed up for this thing so I could see how far does it go. Now, I'm not going to give him my credit card number, but I got to read the chapter and yeah, more puffery. And there isn't a whole lot of information that you're going to get without paying to get into his network. Not necessarily paying, without putting up your credit card to get into his network. So you got to be aware of this stuff. Folks, be careful with marketers out there. Like YouTube is an awesome place to get information and learn about financial products that you're considering or things that people are trying to get you into. Stuff that you might actually need, like life insurance. YouTube can be a great place to get detailed information. Just try not to buy into the hype. Everybody has that friend or that family member who knows the best investments out there. And they have guaranteed you're going to come in and you're going to do great. They're sure of it. And that's kind of how this comes across to me. This is that type of representation. Treat it as such. Watch Caleb's video because there's a lot of things that he just flat out gets wrong. And he doubles down on it in the comment section. All right, here he is doubling down on it in the comment section. This person knows about this product. He tries to educate him. The most you'll get out of that HECB product is going to be a 5 to 6% internal rate of return. And in fact, in the high early cash value mass mutual product, the high early cash value products that are designed like that come at a cost to that internal rate of return, which is actually going to be worse than the other products that aren't as high early cash value. I highly doubt that this product will even get to 5 to 6% internal rate of return. It's probably going to be between 4 and 5% long term, which is not bad, but we got to be realistic about these things. But he claims 8 to 12% internal rate of return. He promises it exists. He's literally just got off the phone with this guy and they were reviewing the IRR across a few policies. 8 to 12 is what he's used, and that's what his people have. There just ain't no way. His policies, he did a different video where he says he bought a policy. He was originally putting in like $8,000 a year. And then he 1035 exchanged that policy into another one so he could put more money into it, which in and of itself makes no sense. If you're making 10% and you're able to borrow from it at 5%, you've got an arbitrage there. Why wouldn't you just add another policy? Why would you even get out of that one? You can continue to arbitrage that forever. Same thing with your new policy. Why would you even limit it on how much you're putting into it? You could arbitrage that forever. Why do you even need to get into anything else? You really don't. Because that arbitrage that's happening in the policy is all tax-free or tax-deferred. He tries to educate him some more here, and he doubles down. He says he's going to make a video showing it. I would not recommend you hold your breath for that one. And he says, unfortunately, this is the reason why people believe what they believe. Even advisors that work for these companies don't know these exist. It's just not true, Ben. That is just not true. Yes, very, very frustrating. I had to think for the last few days how I was going to approach this. Normally, I would do a video like Caleb did, where I'm going to go through and I'm going to refute everything. But I dug into and I looked at everything that he was doing. And this is just straight marketing. It's puffery. And hopefully people don't take it seriously. Remember puffery. No reasonable person would take this seriously. Are you a reasonable person? I hope you are. Hope that's what led you to this video. Does that mean that these aren't good products? Not at all. I definitely believe there's a place for these. I believe in them. I do infinite banking. I have a substantial amount of money going into whole life and IULs because I understand how these things actually work and how to design them properly. And I'm not just here to throw out buzzwords and get you excited about one particular thing that my agent, somebody who is associated with a network that I'm going to get paid from, if you join it, a product that they want to sell. I don't have that here. Now, I do make money from selling life insurance policies. So if you're interested in seeing what these things can actually do, how it might fit in your overall portfolio, how infinite banking might work with that, schedule a meeting with me. I would love to talk with you about it. You're welcome to join his network if you are swayed enough that you've just got to check it out because it sounds too good to be true. There's a reason it sounds too good to be true. But if you got to check it out, do it. But do some due diligence and actually talk to an agent who knows about this stuff, who is looking out for your interest. Now, a lot of agents out there aren't going to just look out for your interest. They want to sell a policy. I offer free consultations to everybody, even if you're not planning on buying a policy, even if you're working with a different agent, even if you're working with a family member and you know you're going to buy a policy from them, but you want to make sure it looks good. You could still sign up for a meeting with me. I'll look at it. I'll tell you how to make it better if it's not already optimally designed. And then you take that to your family member and have them sell you the policy. I make nothing on that, but I do it because I like to see people get good policies. The more people that own the good policies that are designed right, that fit their goals, the more we can push back against all of these really bad design policies and all the legitimate complaints that go along with that, where people talk about life insurance being a scam or the agent making these massive commissions. In most cases, commissions can be reduced. And in most cases, commissions should be reduced in order to put more money in the client's pocket. There are some very few exceptions where the types of designs that we do that minimizes that agent commission and maximizes that cash value, that it might not be appropriate. But those are very, very few and far between. So I hope this is a good education. For any of you looking at this, scam artist, I don't know. Definitely a good marketer. Ben is a good marketer. I'll give him that. I just want you to be aware that when somebody is a really slick marketer, it may not have your best interest in mind. And they're probably going to be engaging in some type of puffery that might lead you to believe that you're getting something that you're not actually getting. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Good luck to you out there. We'll see you next time. Now, he claims he has a line of credit against this policy at 5%. Mass Mutual itself, he could borrow from that policy at about 5.8% right now. At some point, it was at 5%, maybe even a little bit less than 5%. Depends on when he bought his policy. But what he's actually referring to is using a bank, an outside lender, that will collateralize the cash value. Now, these banks, and there's a number of them, have interest rates that are tied to the Wall Street Journal prime rate. And the more that you have available, the lower the rate. So they're going to take the prime rate and they're going to subtract. That prime rate right now is 7.5%. And generally, the lowest you will see offered from these banks or lenders that lend against cash value life insurance is about 1.5% below prime rate. So if the rates being paid out are 1.5% below prime rate, and he just made this video within the last few weeks, there is zero chance that he's paying 5% for that. And in other parts of his videos, he claims it's 4 to 6% that he's paying to borrow against it. You might be able to get 6% if you have a very large amount of cash value that they're collateralizing. Then you get the 1.5% below prime rate, which puts you right at 6% right now. This is just another case of puffery. So here's a few of the lenders. Feel free, check them out, give them a call, see where the rates are. We got Bancorp, Ameris Bank. They call it a cash surrender value line of credit. You got Valley here, cash value line of credit. You've got Inclined. They call this one their Inclined line of credit. A lot of choices out there. Check them out. If you don't believe me, call one of these companies. It's called IBLOC here with Bancor. There's also another one, Coastal States Bank. Now, I personally used my Mass Mutual policy and had it collateralized with Coastal States Bank, and then I switched over to Bancor. Ultimately, I switched back to the life insurance company when the interest rates went up. Made more sense to just borrow from the life insurance company because you can borrow a higher amount, almost 100%, and the rates were lower than what I was getting, what any of the offers were from any of these places. And it stayed lower. And in fact, I think it's probably still a little lower. So this isn't some magic thing that he has that's available to him and nobody else or very limited number of people. I'm not special here either. There isn't only a dozen or so. There's not very many people, I would say, that dig into and learn about this stuff. There's not a whole lot of agents that specialize in this place and will know to tell you about this stuff. He could be accurate in that part of the claim, but any agent can sell those. These banks will work with any person that owns these things as long as it meets their collateral requirement. You can see here, this one's a minimum of $75,000. Over here at Inclined, I think their minimum is like $5,000. That's pretty good. Now, there are some carriers, at least one, that will also use an index universal life policy for this as well. But you're not going to get a better rate with that bank than you will from the actual insurance carrier. So there really isn't a reason to go use that bank and collateralize an index universal life policy. It's not a matter of, oh, this isn't available to the IUL. It is, but it really doesn't make sense because you have a lot more flexibility in the types of loans and the rates that you get in an IUL. So food for thought on that regard. The next 20 seconds determine your future. Subscribe, meet with me, or continue educating yourself with these videos right over here. I appreciate you. Now go maximize your cash flow.